So welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about turds, but not just any turd. We're talking about the turd taco. Yes, my truck. And it's a big deal because it's been 1 year since I purchased my truck, and I bought it brand new last year, mid-March-ish. I believe the actual date was like the 14th or 15th or something like that. I bought my truck brand new, so I know the exact birthday, and coincidentally, the birth date of my truck was Taco Tuesday. Yes, that is, what was it? February 22nd, 2022. So it's 22222, and that was also a Tuesday. So it was Taco Tuesday, known in history as forever, and that is the date of the birth of my truck. So got a lot of things to go over. I kind of bought this truck with the idea of just having a truck that I could do whatever I want with it. I could take it off-road, I could do home projects with it, I could go on vacations with it, I could strap things to it, I could pull things pull things with it. I wanted a truck or a vehicle that could do anything, and I believe that I have that. The modifications that I've been able to make to it over the past year kind of are, or I guess were my 5-year plan. So Tacomas hold their value very much. So when I was looking at buying a truck, I was looking at buying a used truck because I didn't want to buy a brand new vehicle. I went through a lot of the buying process and I just fell in love with the Tacoma. I like the way it looks. I love the way it handles. I like the way it drives. What it came with was it was a stock TRD Offroad, the army green color, super pretty, hence the green shirt and the green backdrop. Got everything greened out today. It came with accessories that I didn't necessarily want. It came with a tonneau cover, came with Predator steps, it came with mud flaps in the blackout package, which the blackout package was probably the only thing that I actually still have on the truck. But the rest of it I've since taken off and was lucky enough to be able to sell it. And that was maybe the plus side of the market these days, is that a lot of that stock stuff is taking a long time to get from the dealership. So I was able to sell all of those accessories fairly quickly. And, you know, the markup from the dealership on that stuff is insane. But I was able to sell it for what I felt was a pretty good price. And that helps me convince my wife, who is very lovely, who allowed me to do all these things to my truck, took the burn out a little bit of some of the things that I purchased. So the very first thing that I ever bought was a bed divider or a bed extender. So it's kind of the type of tailgate thing that kind of folds in and out of the tailgate and allows you to extend it out to the tailgate when it's folded down and gives you a little bit more bed length. That was the very first modification I made. I will say I bought that to kind of help keep things in place. The thing that I ultimately ended up buying down the road was the rubber mat for the bed, and that is clutch because that allows me to put whatever I want back there and things don't roll around and move. And because the bed is plastic, so it's very slippery plastic at that. So that rubber mat in the back was helpful for me because I'm a photographer. I like to load it full of gear and I don't want all my stuff shimmying around and, you know, while I'm driving. You know, I did a couple other little things. I got like the glove box organizer and the center console organizer, and those have been in a lot of help in just keeping things organized because otherwise it's just kind of like a big open compartment. As I was going through and making modifications, I wanted to keep in mind, I wanted to do everything somewhat modestly. I didn't want to go with anything kind of like over the top or flamboyant or crazy colors or really getting into heavy modification of the frame or the body or the chassis or like any of the things. I just wanted to keep things very simple and clean as much as possible, do things the right way the first time, and invest in quality components. I didn't want to go cheap on anything, but I also didn't necessarily need the best and most expensive thing. So a lot of the modifications I made were right down the middle of the aisle, and you'll probably see that as I'm going through. Another early modification I made was adding the tailgate lock. So you can lock a tailgate with a key, but this one locks it with the back door. It was a super easy installation, and I love having that lock on there most of the time. So the first major modification I made was the stereo. And the speakers that come stock in a Tacoma are god awful. And there's no power, there's no sound, it sucked. So I bought all new speakers, dash and the doors, the front doors, the rear doors, and I figured while I was at it, I added a small subwoofer and a small amplifier. Down the road, I did end up getting a Equalizer as well, which I feel like really kind of completed the whole setup. I wanted to keep the stock look of the stereo. I've purchased aftermarket stereos in the past, and to be honest, you can get similar, better quality sound by adding components to the stock stereo. The stock stereo I'm perfectly fine with, and liked having the ability of all of the rest of the components that come with the stock stereo staying completely stock in appearance and function. After I did that, I thought it was done. And after every major modification, I have been like, okay, that's the last one. And then shortly after, there ends up being another one. So shortly after that, my wife gifted me the lift for our anniversary, which is in May of last year. So before my wife knew what she was getting herself into, I ordered everything. And so what I went with the lift was about a 2.5, 3-inch lift with a Old Man Emu suspension in the front and full leaf replacement in the rear that builds out to end up being kind of like a medium duty build. I went with a 888X coils in the front with a soft ride strut. So that kind of is a mismatch, but gives me a little bit more flexibility. It's not the stiffest, it's not the softest, it was kind of in the middle. And the same thing with the leaves in the back. I didn't want to add a leaf, I just went with a full leaf replacement to kind of even everything out. Again, I didn't want to go with spacers or anything like that. I just wanted everything to be clean and neat and done right. I ended up going with Mickey Thompson tires. I went with the Baja Legends. They ended up being around 33s. I think the final squat size ends up being about 32.5 inches, but that's neither here nor there. I did all the diff drops and the sway bar drop and all that stuff. Again, I didn't want to see if it worked. Just did it all when I was under there and doing the work. Thanks to my friends Najib and Chris for helping me do it, because I've never done anything like that. But coming from someone who's never done it, it was more or less pretty easy, especially on a brand new truck. We didn't have to really use any rust be gone or whatever to unseize any bolts or anything like that. So it made everything pretty easy. I ended up going with the GTX wheels. They were a wheel that I could get at the time. I just wanted a bronze looking wheel. I like the bronze look of it. The wheels were kind of the toughest part to find. I wanted to get several other styles before that, but that was kind of what they had in stock at the time. And I got everything from Discount Tire, so I just ordered everything that was in stock that I could get. And I lined everything up, so when I did the whole lift, the tires and wheels were already at the shop ready to go. We did the whole lift in one day, and then I went and put the wheels on the same day, and it was perfect. I did take it to a shop to get it aligned, and there's a local shop here in Virginia Beach that is known for aligning lifted vehicles, and they were on a 2-week wait list. So I took it to another shop, and they to their credit, they aligned it to spec, but I still had to pull to the right. So I took it back, they adjusted it, it still pulled to the right, and their solution was to just air down one of the tires, and that didn't work, and I did not like that, as I don't want to band-aid something. So I ended up just waiting another week and ended up taking it to the original shop that I should have taken it to in the first place, and they dialed it in perfectly. And my truck, even to this day, after a few off-road trips, still drives straight as an arrow. It's beautiful. Thank you very much to Bert's Alignment in Virginia Beach. You guys are awesome, and I will forever take my truck to you guys for alignments. So the next modification I made was a big one, and it was the Softopper bed cover. The tonneau cover was nice. It leaked like crazy, and that was just the hard stock version. That was like a 3-section fold deal. I liked it, but I just wanted to be able to fit more stuff, to stack bigger things in there and have more space for storage and that kind of thing when we go on vacations. So the Softopper appealed to me because I got the tan color. I thought the tan looked good with the whole getup of it. So I like the lightweightness of it. Like, I could take it out pretty easy and fold it down and you know, have different options. It wasn't just a hard cap that I needed multiple people to help me take it off and put it on and that kind of thing. Like this, I can put on and take off by myself. And so far, the Softopper, there are times when a little bit of water will leak in, but it's certainly not as bad as the tonneau cover that came with it. And even if like, it's more of like drizzle and it's more towards like the back tailgate, water will kind of come in only really when it's like super windy and rainy kind of thing. And it's just a little bit and kind of drips down the side. It's not a big deal. After that, my wife was making fun of the Softopper and calling my truck a wagon because it just had the colored canvas topper on it. So I ended up convincing her that I needed a bed rack and a roof rack, which was kind of in the plan anyway. So I went with a Victory 4x4, I believe it's the Overland bed rack and the roof rack for the Tacoma. I believe there's only one option for the roof rack. And it's solid. I mean, you can stand on the thing, you can put whatever you want up there. And so I don't plan on ever getting like a rooftop tent. I have enough invested in backpacking gear and ultralight backpacking gear that I don't see myself spending $2,000 or $3,000 on a tent when I already have that much money invested in lightweight camping gear. I do like the appeal of a rooftop tent, but I don't think I'd ever go that route. I more or less wanted a full roof rack so I could put kayaks, paddle boards, home projects, put some wood up there, throw 2x4s, plywood, strap whatever I want down onto that, get up on top of it, you know, do some Stargate, whatever I want. So the roof rack and bed rack are solid. I like both of them. I thought when I purchased it that the bed rack would allow the Softopper to fold. That's not the case. You can still remove it, but it's kind of awkward. You kind of have to undo the pins and undo all the buttons and snaps and everything, and then kind of like lower it down and get it out, and then you can fold it down and remove it. So it is still removable, you just cannot fold it. So that was a caveat that I had kind of missed when I was purchasing it. I thought that it was still foldable. It is not foldable with that bed rack. So if you're looking for that as an option, just keep that in mind down the road. It does not work that way. But the installation for everything was super straightforward, super easy. The bed rack, in my opinion, was actually a little bit easier to install than the roof rack. The roof rack requires you to seal some of the bolts and the gaskets with some gasket stuff. I can't think of what the gasket stuff is now, but when you purchase it, it'll tell you in the instructions. But again, super happy with the bed rack and roof rack from Victory 4x4. So awesome. Then I put a Molle system into the bed so I could strap whatever I want, axes, traction boards, tools, tie down stuff, just have as many mount points as possible around the inside of the bed. Can mount accessories down the road, whatever I want. Again, the whole build out was to build a truck to do whatever I want. That is the ultimate goal. I don't want to have any restrictions on the things I can and can't do. I also purchased traction boards. I didn't get like, you know, anything too crazy. I just found some that were green and match on Amazon. I got a air compressor, tow straps, tow hooks, like all the basic necessities for off-roading and, you know, recovery gear. Should I get stuck? Should I be out and someone else is stuck? I can recover someone. I can get recovered. That kind of thing. I can air down. I can air up. There's some great options for compressors out there. The one I got, I believe, is a Stanley. I could be wrong. I'm saying words that I shouldn't say. But it's a great air compressor. I did have to make some modifications to that, so maybe down the road I'll do another video on just the air compressor itself. So the next thing I added was lighting inside the bed and inside the Softopper cover. I found that at night, the bed lighting that's in there, there's just two lights towards the back of the bed, and if you have stuff all in the bed, you can't see stuff that's like way down into the depths of the bed. So I actually found on Amazon these, it's a kit that comes with 3 flexible LED strips that can all be wired together. And I found a wire harness from FBC Harness Solutions that allowed me to tie into the rear tail light, the tailgate for the lights, for the same light fixtures that are stock. This allows me to tie directly into that. So when you lock, unlock, these bed lights come on too. So it was a kit that came with 3, and 2 really fit well. I just zip tied them to the bars of the Softopper on the inside. And I didn't really know what to do with the third one. It didn't really fit in the front or the back or along the sides. So what I ended up doing is zip tying it to a really thin piece of wood, and I put some magnets on it. So what you can do is I left the wires long, and you could take it out and you could take the magnets and stick it on the bed rack. So then you almost have like an exterior bed light when you're out at camp. If you're overlanding, you have this strip light that you can use for whatever you need. Or if like you need to fix something, a spare tire or whatever at night, and you know it's dark, you have a light that you can kind of take out and move around. I don't think it would reach all the way to the front of the truck, but you can certainly attach it to the bed. I don't know if you would be able to drive with it up there, but at the same time, you can use it for any kind of utilitarian use. From there, I started kind of customizing it to really kind of make it my own. I removed the TRD 4x4 red decals from the bed, and then I purchased a decal from Taco Vinyl that is like the traditional kind of like old school Toyota yellow, orange, and red stripes with like some mountains. So I cut the strip off the mountains and I put it on the hood, and then I had extra, so I put the stripes on. I only had enough to do one side, but I put the stripes kind of coming up the rear tail light on the bed. It would be cool if I had enough to do the other side, but I kind of like the way I have my truck configured. It kind of has one side is useful for one thing and the other side is useful for the other. I do have, with the bed rack, I did buy a bike rack that mounts to the side of the bed rack. And so on one side of the truck, there's a bike rack. On the other, I left the door panel that you can swing down and use as like a table. I chose to fold it down and out. That'll be like a little table, work surface, or access to the bed kind of thing. Yeah, the stripes came out super good though. The decals are dope. You know, Taco Vinyl has tons of other stuff. Another decal, I guess you could call it a decal, that I purchased was from Lamin-X, and it's a tinted, like a bronze tinted film that goes over the front emblem to kind of get rid of the chrome. So I was trying to get rid of a lot of the chrome look of the truck, interior and exterior wise. So that was kind of one of the last things that I found for the exterior to get rid of that last little bit of chrome. I think it turned out good. It looks dark in some instances, but it just kind of like takes the edge off of that like chrome big fat emblem on the front. I didn't want to go and get a new grille just yet. So that might be down the line some ways, maybe when I get a bumper or whatever. But that worked out really well. Super easy, nice thick vinyl. You know, if you've ever done vinyl, it installs just like any other vinyl. It's super easy. It took me maybe like 15-20 minutes total time cleanup and everything. So interior mods, more interior mods. I used AJT Designs to black out the interior. I did the radio knobs. I did the knobs for the air conditioning control and the four-wheel drive. I got a little green ring for the shifter knob and a green Tacoma on the glove box. I did a black cover for the steering wheel and blacked out the handles, the door handles. I think that's it. The shifter, the glove box, the knobs. Yep. Then I added the Bulletpoint mounting system up on the dash so that I could mount items for off-roading, like my Garmin GPS, my handheld radio, and a GoPro. And I also got a GoPro mount that I could put up on the roof rack as well. So when I'm off-roading, I can get all the views that I want. After that, I added a anytime front camera, and that was actually, it's a plug and play-ish. There is some wiring involved, some soldering, some you know, figuring out that you have to do with that. But all in all, there's some great resources on those installations that made it much easier to kind of navigate and figure out what goes where. And all in all, it ended up working out perfectly, and I love it because for off-roading, you can get a better view of what's in front of you. For parking in tight spots, you can get a better view of what's in front of you. My kids love it to turn on while I'm driving, and they can see what's forward and behind. For towing stuff while I'm driving, I can turn on the rear camera, I can turn on the front camera whenever I want. But yeah, the anytime front camera, it's a little bit pricey, but well worth it, and it works super well. And the way it integrates was much cleaner than a lot of the other systems that are cheaper that exist. I just like the way that it installed. It takes a little bit more work to do the install, but I feel like the ultimate outcome was much cleaner and much better. One of the last modifications I made was the sliders. So, you know, off-roading and stuff like that, the Predator steps that came with it are, in my opinion, horrible for off-roading. They hang down, you lose maybe 3, 4, 5 inches of clearance just because of how low they hang down. And my concern was always catching that on a root or a rock or, you know, something pushing into it, and they're just thin aluminum. So I didn't want that pushing up into my body and doing any damage that could not be repaired. So I went with body armor sliders, and I couldn't be happier. They're very tight to the body of the truck, and they don't stick out. I didn't want to step. I felt like if I was ever going to put something on the roof rack, I could just open the door and step on the inside of the door and get up there. You know, I'm not planning on having a rooftop tent or anything like that, so I didn't really need that. I did add some like grip tape to the side of it, which I'm not sure if I'm going to leave that on there long term or not. Sometimes it'll like catch the back of your pants. It's so grippy. Ideally, if you're planning to do any kind of off-roading, you need to have legitimate sliders. These weren't the most expensive. They were only about $600, and that was on sale, I believe. But I can't say enough. I did take them off-roading and used them and fell on some concrete pipe type things, and it was fine. So I really like them. The install was somewhat of a pain. I did it by myself and kind of had to muster through that, but All in all, they turned out great, and I love them. I love the look of them. They're solid. You can stand on them. You can jack your truck up with them, you know, all that stuff. So super awesome. Body armor, rock sliders. That was the last thing that I've done to it. And now I can say, I think I'm done for a while. Some things, real world uses, like I said, I've taken it off-roading on the beach, fine. Took it to the mountains, totally fine. Took it to a local off-roading park, climbed some big tires and stuff, totally fine. You know, the Tacoma is one of the most popular off-roading trucks in the world because it's a beast and it can do anything. And that's why it has the reputation it has. It's a Toyota, it's reliable, it's a tank, it can do whatever you want it to do. There's no doubt about it being an awesome truck. In terms of like real world use, I've used it to tow small equipment. I've used it to tow trailers. I'll go rent a trailer and go get mulch and do yard projects and get rid of stuff and throw stuff in the trash and bring stuff to the dump. It handles all of that with ease. I think I could probably tow more than I've been towing with it. It hasn't even batted an eyelash at any of the things that I've towed with it. I do have kids, and so kids seats, that kind of thing in the back seats. The back seats are tight for adults. But I'll say it's not too cramped. It's not like those pointless third rows in SUVs and stuff like that. But having kids in there, like my son, he's 5. He has to do a little bit of climbing to get up in it. My daughter, she's 8 going on 9. She's perfectly fine getting in and out of it. And she just has a booster seat. My son still has a seat, but you know, as they get older, it's going to be fine. And you know, it's been fine for them. They love the truck. My son especially loves it. Well, both of my kids love the truck. They love getting in the turd. And they both know that it's called the Turd Taco. So one of the biggest cons with all of the modifications I've made is the miles per gallon that I get. When I first got it, I was getting like 19, 20 stock, which is decent. It's not the best. You know, everybody knows the Tacomas don't get the best gas mileage anyway. But little by little, every modification I've made to it has taken about 1 mile per gallon off. So the lift in the tires took about 1. And then, you know, just everything after that, you know, I was getting about 17, 18 with that. The one thing that kind of killed it more permanently, or the worst, was the roof rack. The roof rack, for whatever reason, I get the same miles per gallon in city and on highway. It's about 16, 17. I don't go on very many like super long car rides with it. But you know, on the highway, it doesn't really get much better gas mileage than I do in the city, which it's like, that's bizarre and goes against everything that science tells us, but it's true. And I think it's just because the wind resistance, you kind of have to stay on the gas a little bit more, you know, plus I have the racks in the back and stuff like that. So just something to be aware of. The miles per gallon do go down. Sometimes I get as low as like 14 or 15, but usually I stay around like that, like 16 miles per gallon range. Highway, I'll get like 17, 18 sometimes, but that's like when I'm going a lot on the highway. The maintenance and upkeep. This was another thing that I was disappointed with the dealership. You know, they tell you you get free oil changes and free inspections and whatever, but in life, nothing is for free. And I found that out very quickly. Your oil changes are free, but then any of the maintenance that they want to do to your truck at the time is not free. So they'll get you in for the oil change. Your oil change will be free, but then they'll change your air filters, your cabin filters, your intake filters, and they'll change all that stuff out and then charge you. And then, you know, you end up spending $100, $200 on your oil change anyway. So I decided to do a lot of the maintenance, the regular stuff myself. Oil changes, tire rotations, all of that stuff. I didn't want to deal with going back to the dealership. I've heard nightmares, especially with the dealership that I bought my truck from, with vehicles spending 2-3 days there for just an oil change, you know, which is outrageous. I could just do that in 30 minutes out in my driveway. you know, I just bought some new tools, and so I've just been doing that, just buying new tools as I go and doing a lot of the maintenance myself, which is another reason why I bought a Toyota. They're incredibly easy to work on, and the maintenance is easy. The parts are easy to come by, and you know, they're just a breeze to work on, and they don't really break that often anyway, hopefully, knock on wood. So, you know, I do a lot of my maintenance myself, and then I have a local shop that's much closer than the dealership that I'll take it to for inspections and stuff, which I trust them more than I trust the dealership's word. You know, I learned that dealerships make a vast amount of their profits off of the service and maintenance of vehicles rather than the sale of the vehicle itself. So of course they want to get you in there with their warranties and guarantees and stuff like that. They'll find something wrong with your truck just to, you know, fix it and charge you more money. So some considerations for modifications down the road. I think definitely like a front and rear bumper. I have some ideas in mind of like what I like. So far for the front bumper, I'm leaning towards like the Southern style off-road slim line. I really like that slim, sleek look of it with the extra clearance that you get. Maybe adding a front winch, that kind of stuff. But I'm kind of telling myself maybe I'll do a Viper cut to kind of like ease the pain of that for a little while before doing that modification. And then a rear bumper I would do, being that I have the off-road, you have all those sensors in the back. I definitely want to go with some kind of bumper that, you know, you'd have to chop a little bit of the body off. I don't want to just replace the bumper itself. I'd want to go over and around and do like a high clearance bumper that still allows me to keep all those sensors in the back because I did pay for them. So I'd like to keep them if possible. But that's kind of like it for the future. I mean, I really don't have any other plans. Everything I've done to the truck so far has been like my 3 to 5 year plan anyway. So overall though, I absolutely love my truck. I don't think I've ever owned a vehicle that I've loved this much. I just love driving it still, even after a year. My family still loves it. You know, it's just been so much fun to just, again, do whatever I want. You want to go off-roading, we can go off-roading. You want to take it up a mountain, we can take it up a mountain. You want to climb over something, do it. Tow stuff, you know, take your kids on vacation. Whatever you want to do, the truck is perfect for that. And I absolutely love it. And happy birthday to my truck. And I'm looking to put 15, 20, 25 more years into this truck. Hopefully it'll be my kids one day, or not even. Like, I'm planning on keeping this thing for as long as I possibly can. But yeah, I love my truck, and that's really all I have to say about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, questions about any of the modifications I made, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not super well versed in a lot of the things that go into it, but I do know about the things that I know about, and I know about the things that I have, so I can answer any of those questions. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks.